Welcome back to another episode of the Ag Week Podcast. I'm your host, Al Windmill. We're here at the Crary Full Pod event in Fargo, North Dakota with their crew of YouTube farmers, and we're going to do a little talking today on some deeper topics than we're used to. I hope you guys are ready for it.
We're not.
Okay. We're going to do a quick introduction here. We have Zach Johnson, Millennial Farmer. Next to him is Brian Brown from Brian's Farming Videos. And we have Doug Larson and Chet Larson from Larson Farms. And Tony Fast from Fast Ag Montana. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Like I said, it's going to get a little in the weeds here, but you guys are farmers. You're used to weeds and finding ways to work around them. Let's kick it off with artificial intelligence. I think we'll probably just start here and go down the line just for your take on it. Are you guys using any sort of AI on the farm? Maybe in the YouTube world or both? How does that sound?
The only AI I can think of that we have used on the farm came through a company that flies a drone over and looks for rocks on our fields.
Oh, okay.
So they find the rocks, and then they've got AI that actually pieces together the rock map and then finds the best route to go out and pick those rocks. And I guess it's an AI system, so it's always learning how to identify different size and different colored rocks and stuff.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked really well. I don't know that much about it, but they tell me it's an AI system, so the more they use it, the smarter it gets.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but beyond that, I'm still just trying to figure out normal, actual intelligence.
Right. That's hard for a lot of us. It really
is.
It really is. Anything on the editing side or YouTube world? Or
No, not that I'm aware of. But my wife does most of the editing, and she is pretty into the AI stuff, so she knows a lot more about it than I do.
Maybe she's been outsourcing it to ChatGPT or something.
Maybe. Probably.
Taking little vacations.
Yep.
Smart lady. Brian, what are your thoughts on AI?
I don't think we have anything that I know of, but I mean, I guess there could be some. I can't think of anything offhand that's using AI. I mean, I've used some combines that had some automation in them, and that's something that we're probably going to. The combine we have currently does not have automation, but something I'd like to change in the next year or so. I guess
you think it's worth the hassle of potential technology snags, issues, stuff like that?
I mean,
yet to be determined, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, people have told me if you know how to set a combine, you can set a combine better than AI. Possibly, but am I going to change it every time that there's a circumstance that needs to change? Probably not. And that computer is. So
right.
That's kind of how I look at it. But like I say, I don't have a lot of experience with it. Maybe it's terrible.
You're going to give it a whirl, though, right?
Yeah.
Larson Farms, what's your gut thoughts on?
I don't think Dad knows what AI is.
Well, we had a neighbor.
Other than when your iPhone, you're talking about a product, and pretty soon that's all your ads are.
That's a little frightening. We did have a neighbor, but that was more to do with dairy cattle.
Oh, okay.
I would say
different AI.
the combine automation is about the only thing I play with.
That's what I was going to say.
And I don't know, you play with that at all, Zach?
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that one because no, I really don't. I mean, we have set our combines up to do it where it recognizes the sample coming through the clean grain auger and stuff, but I don't know. I guess I'm used to setting the combine the old school way and by just getting out and checking and doing my thing. So that's the way I've done it.
That's kind of what I do, and then I play with it occasionally. It will make changes, and then sometimes it seems like it gets lost, and then it's like I don't agree at all with what's going on here, and I turn it off. But I was doing the ground speed maintain along with, like you do nothing. You push go once you turn around, lower the head, and push go, and it's auto maintaining. It's controlling the speed. That was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. Once again, you got to understand how it works before you, if you don't understand how it works, you're probably going to get really frustrated with it. But I was pretty impressed with it. It didn't work the best in variable corn, which a lot of it was this year. Hilltops are burnt up. It's trying to go 7 miles an hour and then comes charging into the 200 bushel corn in the bottom and it overloads everything.
But that's when it should work good. So it has a lot to learn.
That's where the understanding was there's a lot of different settings and tweaking you can do on it. But since we run 2 combines trying to follow each other, we ended up not really being able to use it because they're not the same. So
I think
one's
yeah,
always outrunning the other one, and
You always
But it
have
is
to
cool.
you have a maximum speed you can set in there and all that stuff so that you don't get too carried away with
So
the
did you use it in
ground
beans?
speed.
soybeans. I actually use the maintain more in soybeans, but my frustration with that is the sieve loss monitors plug with trash totally eliminates being able to use it. And I mean, that happens. You can clean it out, and 3 rounds later, they're plugged up, and I don't know why my combine's that way, but
So I found like the combines that we've ran that did have automation, and even our older combine, it had what they called the cruise pilot, which sounds like the same thing. You set a speed that you want to run, and it adjusts your speed based on what it feels the engine load is. And
yeah.
for beans, I think it
Soybeans-
makes it way more efficient for
Yeah.
us, anyways.
Soybeans would scare me with that for the green spots. I mean, I
How-
start
plug you
anticipating the green spots coming before the slug comes.
It almost probably needs satellite imagery for yield like estimation. Then it would probably be spot on because then it would
Yeah.
see a heavy spot in the yield coming and slow you down ahead of time and not plug everything up.
Yeah, no,
That's a missing link maybe.
Maybe its own drone that like
Maybe.
circles it
There
like
you
it's a moon. It's just always taking video.
Can we use the video?
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah.
that would
Dual purpose.
really work good for us.
It would, yeah.
So, yeah.
Tony, what are you guys doing for AI?
Our machine combines are pre-automation, so we haven't messed with any of that yet. But yeah, I can't really think of any AI stuff that we've dove into.
Is there anything you're looking forward to or wish existed?
I do think that there's like that automation has its place, especially for inexperienced combine operators. It makes it where maybe you can throw the kid in the combine that's knows how to turn the combine around and unload the grain tank and stuff like that, and then you'll know their sample's gonna be better or take care of itself then.
Once it learns a little more, it doesn't charge into the.
Well,
Real
if
healthy
you
corn.
just have them drive it and control the speed, but then the settings would take care of themselves. Maybe.
Sure.
And you can do that.
Yep.
These features are on the combine, and I think a lot of people either don't understand how they work I've drove the combine for 30 years without it. I'm not going to change the way I do it, and that's fine too. But there's a lot of expensive equipment on them things that don't get utilized.
Well, I think COVID killed the combine clinics and all that stuff where they used to explain all that, and now they're like, oh, you can go to their one combine clinic for the 12 stores.
You can watch this company video that's about
Yeah.
as boring as watching paint dry.
Yeah, I think that's probably a lot of it where a lot of that information doesn't get there, or the salesmen are so busy they can't get everyone going the same day and show all that stuff maybe.
So we actually traded one of our combines, and it's a COVID combine, so it don't have any of the cameras on it. And I love that feature just for my own. I love watching my tailings. I have corn coming in, well then sieve ain't open up enough. And I found out that it didn't come, and I called the salesman. I'm like, that's like my favorite feature of these new combines. And they're like, well, they couldn't get them because of the chips.
Yep.
And they don't have it. And it's like,
It's wired for it.
It's
There's
wired,
just no
but-
camera.
So you can add it on.
You think
Yeah,
about putting
if
a
you're
video in
If
there?
camera.
a small price of $10,000, which is easy to pay when it's the whole lump sum.
So
but
did I
to
hear you
put that
say-
on, it's very frustrating.
It's weird how that works, isn't it?
Maybe you can put your GoPro camera in there and plug it in.
Yeah, there you go.
So we traded a combine with it, but we got one back without it. And if we want it, we have to pay more for it. That sounds about
Just go
right.
take
Yeah.
your old cameras
Yeah.
off.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Put your old
Oh,
cameras in the new
no, they
combines.
changed the plugin.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
So would spray drones count as AI? Because we're seeing a lot more spray drones in our area, and the things are flying themselves. So it about have to be some kind.
That was my next
Yeah.
question for you guys: is drones on the farm, applications in agriculture, whether you're using them or what you think about it. So, what are you seeing around you for drone use?
So there are two 18-year-old, like an 18-year-old and 20-year-old kid that started selling spray drones. And I mean, they're kids. They look like kids. And they've probably sold 50 spray drones, like $35,000 setup
Forget
last
college.
summer.
If you got it figured out.
Yeah.
So they're not running it themselves. They're actually selling the drones to the farmers.
So I think they're a seed dealer. They got a little feed store, and then they're a DJI dealer. But then they also have a custom application business for it.
Okay.
But one thing I thought you would see a lot more custom applicators, but in our area, a lot more farmers are realizing that we can pencil this out pretty quick. I mean, 35 grand's a lot of money, but the ability to do some of the things you can do with it. I mean, I know several, like in the township that I live in, there's 3.
Wow.
There's maybe 10 farms, and 3 of them have spray drones,
Wow.
and we're one of them.
And there's a lot of limitations with tank capacity, battery capacity, flight times
10
not
gallons.
a lot. 10 gallons. Okay, that's
But you can spray a way smaller rate, right?
Yep.
Like 3 gallons an acre?
Yes, no, it's even smaller now. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think what you can do with
A
them.
gallon an acre.
Are they using it for spot spraying or more of a
Fungicide
blanket?
is
Oh, okay.
coming, and then a lot of foliars. That's pretty easy to tinker around with stuff like that. One thing I do wish, I mean, DJI doesn't exactly work with John Deere, it doesn't work with Ag Leader, it doesn't work, so like you don't really have a coverage map that you can take that file and put into your data software that I know of. Maybe you can, but that's probably my biggest complaint with it so far. But
Isn't there
then spot spraying too.
a drone that'll fly your perimeter to map your field, and then the spray drone? It's like a 2-part
So
deal.
you can do it with, you can draw your map. Like you got this big controller and you can sit there and draw your map, and then you hit go and it just takes the most efficient route that it can and it goes. So it runs out.
We got some buddies in Canada that have talked about, $300,000 combine or sprayer or 10 of these little drones.
Well, one thing I will point out, the $300,000 sprayer has a hell of a lot better air conditioner than that drone. Yeah. Because you're sitting on the top of a pickup. It's like, man, if only we had this device where we could all just like sit somewhere and be cool right now. And
Like
cover
a
more
drone with
acres.
a cab?
Class A motorhome,
Yes. sit in there.
Then you can write that off.
Yes.
As long as you pull
We
the
could
drone
pull the
trailer.
spray trailer, yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Zach, are you guys doing anything with drones besides the rock picking thing, which is a great application?
No, but you brought up the spray drones. That got me thinking. We did test with a green. It escapes me now, but there's a company, Green Seam. There's a spray company out there that has developed like a See and Spray, the same as John Deere, and that's all AI, recognizing the weeds,
Yeah.
so that you're only spraying your systemic herbicides on those weeds, and that's an AI system, so that it learns, as it goes, so it's always getting
That's a
smarter.
weed, that's a plant, that's
Right, exactly. And that saved, we did probably 300 acres with one of those this summer, and that saved us about 75% on our systemic herbicides. So it's actually got 2 rows of nozzles, 2 nozzle banks
Yeah.
on it. So you've got your chemicals with residual, and then you got your systemic ones. So
okay.
that would be a form of AI that I'd kind of forgotten about that we did use this
That's
year.
cool.
Yeah,
How
Worth
did,
it.
how did it do for weed control?
it did really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It did a really good job. When you say, is it worth it? It's expensive. It's really expensive.
Did you
I
take
don't-
in the chemical savings and
Yeah, you can take in the chemical savings, but you're not going to make up for
Gotta go over a lot of acres to make it.
$150,000 system, right? To
Wow.
save 70% only on your systemic chemicals. So the technology's there and it's great, but for us on a corn and soybean rotation, we always have so much, residual chemicals in there anyway and stuff. So I'm not going to pay for it
Sure.
on this next sprayer.
sure.
Maybe at some point, if we have some different technology or the price point makes more sense.
Yep.
Or if you're growing something where you only want that systemic herbicide in there, and you're doing 1 million passes a year, right? I don't know, maybe for the sugar beet guys, it would pay more. Some kind of different operation.
Yep.
The guys that are chem following in central Montana are putting that system on a $10,000 wheel boom sprayer and pay for it in a year.
Really?
Just
Yeah,
on
see,
Like,
so there's an
some
application for it.
applications for it, yeah. But that they might be spraying 5,000 acres of chem follow a year too.
Right,
So
yep. Different situation.
yeah.
So ground speed is fairly,
It's good. Yeah, it'll recognize it. The cameras on the booms see them coming, and they time it right. And it's cool when
8
you.
miles an hour? Or
No, we
5?
for
10?
spraying?
Yeah.
Well, this is a self-propelled. I mean, we're
They
driving
can
14,
crank her
15
wide.
miles an
Oh,
hour. Yeah.
Wow.
Cameras never got dusty, or
No, we didn't have any issues with that.
so I was kind of wondering, it's like a crop material or something like that would
Yeah.
Did you ever find your camera that had that video on?
No. I love.
Oh, so this never made the
It
airways.
never made the airways.
Wait,
No.
are you just making this up?
No pictures. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
No, the only trouble we had that day was it was a Hagee sprayer that I wasn't used to running, and I hit the wrong button when I was trying to get the booms out of the cradle, and I broke one of the pipes. But that wasn't AI's fault.
Needed some AI there.
Yeah, I needed some AI there, yeah.
Doug and Chet, are you guys using drones, or do you see anything coming in the pipeline?
I had the opportunity to, a guy wanted to come out and fly and just make a video of it. I have not personally had any experience with it. It seems very small to me in a 300-acre field that you're going to go out with a 10-gallon spray tank, but I think it'll have its applications definitely in maybe Wisconsin or areas where Michigan, small fields where a plane and helicopters maybe struggle to spray fungicide, different things. I
would feel pretty small in a mile-long field with something like that, but I don't know.
So there's a company out there that I got to see do a demo one time, and they've got trailers with the water tanks in them. And what they had was three drones that'll go at one time. So 2 of them are always out spraying and 1 is always filling. So then they can pull up to a 100-acre field, and I forget how fast they can do it, but it was pretty quick. But once they've got it all mapped out, the drones do their thing, and there's always 2 moving and 1 filling. So that's where it gets really efficient. But then you're talking 150, 200 grand. So
I know at home, one of my neighbors that really we didn't get ours till late, so we haven't used it, and we're not licensed yet. There's a lot of licensing. That's the main downfall I see with it. But
that only matters if they see you doing it.
Yeah. But we would have licenses.
Sure you would.
My one neighbor, though, they were able to cover 180 acres in a day with one. So, I mean, that's not a lot of acres, but if you're doing fungicide and you're paying a plane $20 an acre just to show up, plus your chemical cost, I mean, I don't know, I could see it in some places, but they did say that they get the most acres done in the bigger fields, just like anything. I mean, if you're turning all the time, you're not getting anything done.
How about for scouting for weeds, insects, yields? Nothing.
We've never been approached by it or haven't looked into it.
If we
I
do
don't know
ever
of
get
anyone in our area.
I've seen them with seats on where person can actually sit on it. So get
What?
that one.
Sit on the drone?
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't
That's
seen
called a plane.
You haven't seen these things? I know what you're talking about. Have you seen how much they cost?
No, I haven't.
150.
Oh,
You're sitting on the drone flying through the air?
It's got 8 big motors, and you're flying like a
With
little
propellers
helicopter.
underneath if you don't fall off.
Yeah, it looks like a go-kart with a bunch of propellers. It looks real safe, let me tell you.
I've seen the video where the guy grabs on the bottom of one of them spray drones and goes and flies himself over the pond and lets go at
I've heard of
60
things
feet.
like
Yeah,
that
he's
happen.
way up above the water too.
Just think of the content we could create with
Oh,
one of these
man.
things, guys.
I might know of one spray drone that ended up getting very moist because of that. That is a very expensive piece of content.
You never want a moist drone.
No.
It's a bad deal.
Now, you were talking about scouting, though. Pre-YouTube, I had a DJI 2 or something like that. I mean, probably 2015. And that was the whole purpose we got it, was we wanted to be able to see, like, compaction from the air and wanted to look at crops and stuff. And the first year we had it, we have, do you guys have frog eye in this area for soybeans? So it's a leaf disease on beans, and it can be pretty costly. And I found it with the drone, and the fields we put fungicide on, because we found it was a drone, was 10 bushel difference. So it paid for the $1,000 drone pretty quick.
Really?
Interesting.
But that was many moons ago and haven't done since. So I don't know if that was a good idea.
My frustration with the typical DJI drones that you can buy is every time, if I don't fly it for a month, when I take it back out again, it needs a whole bunch of software updates.
New ones
You
are
just
way
hit
better.
ignore.
Yeah, I know, but it just drives me nuts. So
Sometimes they won't fly until you do that stuff. Then you got to recalibrate,
Yeah.
spin around, and look like a goof.
Do you
Yeah.
take
The new
all
ones are
liability? Yes. I'll just go fly it.
Tony, what are you guys doing with drones?
Nothing for, crop protection, nothing like that. We've had 2 years in a row of bad grasshoppers.
Oh, okay.
And so there's been some guys talking about getting some spray drones to spray borders, like especially next to pasture where there's lots of grassland, and lay down a heavy long residual chemical insecticide. That's really about the only, like we're knocking out 2,000 acres a day spraying with a self-propelled, so we're not really looking for.
There's a long way
We
to
don't
go.
have a lot of
We have a
drones.
lot of drones,
Sure.
but yeah, I don't know. I see the savings in certain, like the chem follow guys and stuff like that, where like the Green Seeker, is that what you're talking about?
I don't remember what
Something
it's called.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, those have their places, but we're a continuous crop and we're not doing the chem follow thing. You find one weed in a field, there's a bunch more everywhere else. So
Sure.
if we're spraying, I don't think the technology is there to find a wild oat in a wheat crop yet, where it can know the difference between the two different grass plants. So and someday it might be there. I'm sure it will be, but nothing right now.
Are there any security concerns when it comes to technology, whether AI, drones, the internet at large? Like what? We'll start with you, Zach.
Yeah, there's always
On the farmer's
concerns.
standpoint.
I guess I'm not that concerned. I mean, I think they have enough information the way it is. I don't think, they want to know what we're planting and where and all of that information. So I don't know. I'm sure at some point, and it's probably already happening, that information is probably being used against us to figure out pricing and all that, but I don't know what you're going to do about it. I don't see it getting any worse just because we're using technology and stuff, I guess.
Would you say the pros outweigh any security cons?
Yeah,
Efficiencies
probably.
and making your life easier?
In most cases, yeah.
Sure. Brian?
Remember tillable?
Yep.
That would be one of those cases where I would say that was probably, kind of turned us on to the fact that maybe we better be a little bit more careful with who has our data. We didn't get a letter, like none of our landlords did, but if I was a Climate customer and all of a sudden Tillable was sending my landlords letters based on my, crop history, I'd be pretty ticked.
Sure.
As far as just security in general, I think my dad's had his credit or debit card hacked 10 times this year. He bought $1,500 worth of Adidas sneakers one day on accident.
Big shoe guy.
Ever since then, we're pretty much all cash.
Larson Farms?
I would agree that if they want it, they're gonna find it some way. That's what I would say. Don't think there's anything.
It doesn't
we
keep
can
you up at
do
night, in
about
other
it,
words.
no.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure if we all knew what's all happening, it would.
You
But
should
it's
own a
too
cell
late.
phone if you're worried about that.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
they can get
Right.
anything they want from you from that, I would imagine, and much more.
Yeah, you just added all of our trucks and red tractors to,
My John Deere.
so it's
And
so
I
easily
personally love
trackable.
being able to track this stuff, to know where everyone's at, their fuel levels. I think it's great.
It's very convenient to manage things, but who else is all watching?
Now you're gonna catch your truck driver napping.
Not yet. He might stop by the cafe and grab a cheeseburger sometimes.
Tony, do you guys have any security concerns with all the technology around you?
I don't know. I've always kind of figured we're not trying to hide anything, and it's really convenient. Like we use the Climate app a ton when we're trying to figure out crop rotations and what seeding rate or crop variety or whatever we're working with. And I think it's convenience, and they're not paying for it anyway, so I'd rather just use it and whatever happens with it happens. It's kind of my thoughts on it.
Perfect.
But
Well, switching up the topics a little bit, soil health on the farm. Is there anything that you're doing to promote or enhance your soil health, whether that's amendments or tillage practices, cover crops?
We've tried the cover crop thing 4 different times on our farm and not found success with it. I think we'd have better success if we had an interseeder
Okay.
and we could put cover crops in, at different times when the crops are out there. But, I mean, how much do you invest for something that hasn't worked yet? So I'm not going to buy or build an interseeder for something that I haven't seen success with. So It's difficult. I've tried strip tillage a few times. I think I'm not scared of strip tillage. I really like the idea. I'd like to do more of it, but there again, the unit that I have because I was able to get into it really reasonable, and it just it's not working for what I'm trying to do with putting on fertilizer at the same time, and it's not working, so I need to come up with something that can work better. But there again, I mean, I don't want to spend $100,000, $200,000 on something that may or may not work, and then in our area, if it doesn't work and I want to get rid of it, nobody else wants it. It just isn't out there. It's not a thing, really, you know. So I guess I'm trying to balance that. We've been doing a lot of VT stuff, which is a little bit less tillage. We've been doing that on certain fields and actually really liking that a lot.
Okay.
So I guess that would be one thing. I know the no-till guys will laugh at that, but to us, that's less tillage.
What about amendments or anything you can add in?
You mean like to the
Big products?
Constitution?
Right. Yes. I told you this one's getting deep here, guys. No, like anything you would add to the seeds or different.
Not that I can think of, but maybe these guys will say something that reminds me of something
Sure.
we're doing.
Sure. How's your soil?
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's brown. It's coarse.
Plants growing it.
Yeah, from time to time. So as far as like soil health, I mean, we have some fields we put cover crops in. We try to do a 3-year rotation with wheat on about 1,200 acres, which is a third of our crops.
Okay.
So those 1,200, every 400 acres of them will have wheat in them every third year. So I think that helps a little bit. Like some of the tougher soils, trying to build up maybe some organic matter like that. I have no evidence to back that up, and my dad just is really determined to hate summer, so we raise a lot of wheat. But as far other than that, I mean, we try to manage our dirt the best we can and put our fertilizer where it can help us the most. I don't really know of any magic formula that's really, like we did this and we've seen a huge return. One thing we did, I guess it would maybe fit, that would be lime.
Okay.
Our area, we get lower pHs, so soil testing pays for itself pretty quick when you can variable rate lime and you're putting on a ton to 2 tons an acre, and you don't need any for this 100-yard strip. I mean, it saves pretty quickly.
That's cool. How about you guys?
Yeah, we're gonna try some variable rate fertilizer this year, and that's kind of a new thing, but yet I've watched the neighbors do it in the past, and quite a few of them have kind of backed off, but I think it's gotten to be a lot better than it used to be, where they went with 0 on your good stuff, where now they're giving it at least something instead of nothing. So,
Baseline.
yeah. And as far as strip tilling and all that stuff goes, how much machinery can a guy afford? We could maybe justify doing it on some of our soil, but where it's muddy conditions, we can barely get the tillage done, and to try to get a strip tiller through the
Can you imagine
standing water, you aren't
what
going to do
the
it.
strip till machine will look like this
It would be
fall
the
in
biggest
Stevens
dozer
County?
blade. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Tony, how's the land management, soil enhancement going?
We've played around with quite a few different things. Like Zach said about cover crops, we've tried it, and like our option is plant them after we take our wheat off or whatever crop off. Should I put in some cover crop stuff in? And some of it comes up. It's a dry, we usually dry August, September, October. Sometimes it just seed lays there, doesn't even grow. The guys that are doing the cover crops are the cattle guys that will put a cover crop in like in end of June and then graze it all fall.
Get a little more out of it.
And they'll at least making some money off of it, kind of a deal. But we're just limited on moisture, and anything that's going to take more moisture hurts us. But then we've tried some different seed treats or whatever, different products and stuff, and it's so hard to judge if it's working for us.
With all the external variables?
We're just so limited on moisture. If we were irrigated or something like that, I'm sure we could see lots of results on all that stuff, but when it doesn't rain, nothing really matters what you try. So,
Have you tried doing a dance?
we do live on a reservation, and there is powwows in June. Usually Rains in June, but I'm not
So
going to
you
say
should,
that's.
you should look into it.
I'm not going to say that's the reason.
What could it hurt?
Yeah, I mean, have you tried? You don't know.
It is a running joke though. Go do your rain dance, or if it does rain, someone wash your vehicle or something.
We got pretty hard up during wheat harvest. I left the vehicles down and everything. I left an untarped grain cart full of wheat in the yard. Nothing.
That's risky.
It would have been worth it.
That's
Did you try
for
a dance?
I did. I didn't work either.
Did you make any videos of that?
No.
I think we'd all watch.
Yeah, could you show us an example of it?
Can you beat the drum?
Yeah, I'll beat the drum if you dance.
One more question on this deeper dive episode we're doing. I don't know if it's controversial or not, but carbon markets. Are you guys doing anything with it? And whether you are or not, what's your take on the different programs between the government, private programs? Thoughts on the matter?
I kind of like this one because we did a lot with this when I was doing a podcast with Minnesota Public Radio. Right now, I'm not doing anything with the carbon markets. I have a lot of different feelings about how I feel on it all. I think obviously the farmers are going to be put on a spot where we're expected to prove that we're doing better with carbon management so that companies, I guess I'll just leave them unnamed. We all know who they are, these companies that are saying, well, we're going to be carbon neutral by 2030. Well, they're not doing anything different besides paying somebody to handle carbon credits and take the majority of that and then hand some peanuts to farmers so that we make the changes.
You're doing the work.
We're doing the work.
Yeah.
And then we get a few peanuts for it so that these giant companies can say that they're carbon neutral, right? That's how I feel about it, and that's how it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are companies out there. Continuum Ag, Mitchell Hora was my partner on that podcast with Minnesota Public Radio, and he just launched an initiative last week where they've actually got a platform they've set up where you can control that platform and the data you put in there, so the farmer owns all of your own data. And then you can actually take that to the market and say, this is my carbon score. This is what I've changed. These are the actual tests in my soil and whatever else. Mitchell knows a million times more about this than I do, but essentially they're making it so the farmer is going to own and control that data through their platform. So they're making it so that it's more of a free market to the farmer to benefit the farmer more, so that these big companies aren't sticking their hands in there and being able to use it as their marketing strategy to everyone when nobody really knows what's going on, right?
Sure.
I mean, GM and Delta aren't suddenly going to make airplanes and cars that have zero emissions. They're just going to pay somebody a little bit for it, and it's going to be the middleman that takes the majority of it.
Brian?
So that's kind of been my understanding of it, and do not claim to be an expert on carbon credits. The whole thing to me just sounds like government bureaucracy and corruption. Like, if we're really trying to save the world here, like you said, they're still doing the companies that are buying these carbon credits are not changing their practices any. So if we're really trying to save the world, I think it's a shame. Like, we didn't save a damn thing. We didn't save a darn thing. Everything's exactly how it was, and it's hurting us or making us change how we do business. Or if we want to, I don't like it. I'm not a big fan.
Or if you're a farmer that's been doing it with no-till cover crops or whatever for 30 years, you don't qualify because you're not improving or changing anything.
You can't get better if you're already doing.
Yeah, and that's not me in my situation, but for the guys that are doing that,
That's a punishment for.
It is, yeah, it really is, yeah.
Yeah, we've been no-till since late 90s. And like to get into some CSP programs, like you had to get pretty creative, and variable rate fertilizer was one of them that we started doing, but like we couldn't be minimal tillage or no-till because we already were there. So they won't reward you for that, like you're saying. If you already were doing it, they want you to add something to make your farm, to be more conservative to farm. So I don't know. I think if there was a way we could just market our own directly to them or sell them or find that platform, then it's probably a great fit. It would just be income for what we're already doing.
Right.
But it makes a company feel good, warm, fuzzy feelings for saving the planet because they offset their carbon with what we're already doing.
Yeah, the intentions are really good. I just think there's too many big hands in there trying to take advantage of it.
Yeah, if we could just, I don't know if it's a co-op or what, to form your own deal, and I don't even know, how do you figure that? How much carbon am I sequestering by not tilling the ground? I mean, you just throw a dart at the wall and that's the number we're selling or what? I don't know how it seems kind of goofy, but if there's money to be made at it, we should be taking advantage of it, I think.
Doug and Chet, are you guys doing anything with?
I think
carbon
everyone
market?
nailed that pretty good.
Everybody feels the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
I
Once
think
again, the big get bigger and don't have to clean up their act, but
Big game of pass the buck and
yeah.
interesting.
it's just like when I bought my new pickup, and I like horsepower, and it's about the most fuel guzzling beast. Fun to drive, but just to buy the pickup was a very large number of a tax. Basically,
Extra
a
tax.
fine saying this is an inefficient vehicle. Here's your $2,000 tax on this vehicle. It's like, okay, you can have it, but you're gonna pay a fine for emissions. It's like, okay, whatever. If you can afford the pickup, I guess you can afford the tax, but it's just a frustrating thing to me, I feel like.
I don't know. I've heard, I think there's a rain tax being talked about.
How's that going to work?
Well, if
You tell us.
from what I've heard, a little bit of it is that each farm, if they get too much rain, you will get penalized for that. Or if you don't have, it's all to do with runoff. And the metropolitan areas then will be able to buy more or less these credits or whatever, if I understood it right, so that they don't have to. I'm sure it's got something to do with maybe runoff, and
Sure.
and they'll be able to pay the farmer if he's lucky enough not to be under the big black cloud that gives you 6 inches at one time, or it's
So if we
whoever comes up with all these ideas.
so if we pay them, can we get rain? Like I put like $1 in a vending
Yeah.
machine and get like a rain ticket or something.
And if they have none to give you, then they get some sort of penalty fee that they owe
Yes.
you.
yes.
Yeah,
I think we're on to something.
I think so. I think the same people came up with that as the people that came up with the proposed dust regulations a few years ago. You remember that? In Minnesota, they wanted to pass it so that the EPA could shut you down if they saw visible dust while you were working.
So it's never dusty.
Wow.
We'd have 20 minutes between 7:30 and 8 every morning to be able to do something.
I think our local elevators are under some of that stuff. They can only sell or buy so many thousand bushel a day because they are emitting a certain amount of dust that then they have to quit buying.
Which I find a complete joke. They're gonna buy it all in the end. They're gonna buy the same amount of bushels in the year. It's just that the farmer gets shut down at 3 o'clock on a Thursday because they can't. I know the ethanol plants deal with that. Well, they're gonna grind the same amount of corn
Right.
in a year.
They have to.
So what's okay? You've used up your allotted dust credits for the day. Shut it down.
Well, anybody have any other thoughts on any of the topics here in this deeper cut after we've been talking a little bit?
We could get pretty deep in the weeds. We better do that after the camera's off.
Well, thanks again for being here at the Crary Full Pod event. Looking forward to chatting some more later on today. We'll be back with another episode of the Ag Week podcast soon.